The repair and conversion segment generated 10.6% of their revenue last year. Construction segment generated 89.4% of their revenue last year. Their drop in 2019 revenue was due to soft markets for energy transportation, increased pricing pressures, low demand for large barge project orders, offset by increased demands in petrochem, construction, and government markets. Repair and conversion dropped due to decreases in oil and expected to continue decreasing due to low crude oil prices and depressed Gulf of Mexico activity. Some new construction customers have once again been requesting favorable contract terms, and they keep dropping their upfront deposit costs and fewer progress payments during construction. That's a problem for the company now. They're just taking lower margin work just to keep them happy and keep them around. They're actively pursuing contracts to build different types of vessels for new markets. New projects take longer to complete and are larger than past orders, but have allowed the company to have a consistent backlog for a longer period of time. On page 25, they mentioned we're trying the new things and trying to expand as a company. We'll do some stuff that we've never done before, but we're willing to give it a shot. Their new projects have been larger than usually ordered barges, including 55,000 and 80,000 tank barrel barges and articulated tank barges. They added $134.4 million of backlog in 2019. And you can see the breakdown of the percentages of backlog customers here. And all their backlog is expected to be completed within the next 12 months as of the filing of the 10K. They make stock vessels to fill gaps in project construction time. They had 12 stock vessels as of 12/31/2019, and they've sold 2 of them as of March 1st, 2020. Increased steel inventory due to rise in steel prices. On page 26, decreased steel inventory in 2019 as prices moderated. They were pretty hit hard by the tariffs that the current administration issued out. Their new construction projects typically range from 1 to 24 months. Due to challenging market conditions, they offered more favorable payment terms to new construction customers, which has decreased their cash balances and increased costs and estimated gross profit in excess of billings on contracts in. One significant customer has not been making payments on terms agreed upon in the contracts. On page 29, they elaborate that these 2 vessels that have been ordered were 99% and 98% completed, respectively. So they're almost done with this, if not done, and the people just aren't paying up. They've pursued their legal options to obtain their outstanding balances, and they maintain contractual provisions to sell the finished vessels to anybody else who wants to buy it and recover the deficiencies and all the outstanding balances therein. They have a recovering credit facility. It expires April 30th of next year. No amounts were drawn as of 12/31/2019. $31.4 million in credit, letters of credit and bonds still outstanding. The CEO, a Mr. John P. Conrad Jr., has been chairman of the board since 1998 and is CEO also and owns 42.3% of the shares outstanding. Daniel Conrad, Class 3 director since 2014. He actually owns less than 1% of shares outstanding, and the rest of the family members own an incredible chunk of the shares outstanding. They have 2 independent directors as per NASDAQ rules, Mr. Harris and Mr. Thomas, respectively. Related to company transactions on page 36, the company buys components from Johnny's Propeller Shop, wholly and indirectly owned by Mr. Conrad Jr. and his immediate family. The company purchased parts from there in the amounts of $4,555,000 last year. Mr. Conrad Jr.'s son purchased an ownership interest in power panels, from which the company purchased electrical components totaling $378,000 in 2019, and all these purchases were approved by the Independent Directors Committee. The auditor is Darnell, Sykes, and Frederick, struggling here. And you see the phrase "in all material respects" there. So the accountants signed off on it. Nothing really funny going on there. And they signed it off Lafayette, Louisiana, dated March 13th, 2020. They depreciate using the straight line method. The current inventory valuation they use is FIFO. If current estimates of total contract revenue and contract cost indicate a loss, a provision for the entire loss on the contract should be made in the period it became evident, and said provision should be recorded as an additional contract cost on the income statement. I need to know this because that sounds like a piggy bank, just in case these next few quarters, due to COVID and all that, and crashing oil prices, tells me that they might want to take this provision and use it to bolster earnings, and I'll have to pay attention to that as the next few months to the next year roll on.